Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Wendy Mitchell. I'm a film journalist and festival consultant, and I'm here today talking about the European Women's Audiovisual Network, EWA, depending on how you pronounce it, EWA. And we're here today with the executive director of the network since February 2016, Alessia Sonaglioni. Welcome, Alessia.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you very much.
Can you first tell us just briefly what EWA is and when it started?
Yeah, so EWA is a pan-European professional network for women professionals, specifically, set up in 2013 by Francine Radnet at the time. When I say pan-European, it means that we go beyond the European Union, so including now the UK, of course, but going as far as the Russian Federation and Turkey. So it's really what we call the larger Europe. And it is a professional network. We have members from all professions, so from the audiovisual sector. Mainly we have producers and directors, but I would say all professions are covered. And I think we have now more than 30 states which are represented by our members.
Wonderful. And it does such good work across many different things. But one thing we're talking about today is the mentoring program. Why did you think mentoring was a good idea at EWA?
When I stepped in 2016, we were running a training program, which was quite a heavy activity, and also in competition with a lot of other schemes. So there are a lot of training programs in Europe. So at the time, I really focused myself on looking for a different activity that would benefit members, and being different for what was being done, and having also this dimension of solidarity and community belonging, I would say. So I came up with this idea of mentoring, which I really thought in depth how to structure it, to which target. So for me, the easiest way was to go with producers because of also my other professional activities. I'm more in contact with producers. And I set it up as a 1-year cycle for like junior producers being mentored by senior producers across Europe. So these were the key elements of the program, are still the key elements of the program.
Right. So that started, was it the pilot in 2018? And then how has it evolved since then?
Yeah. So we did the first pilot, and I created, at that time, it was a group of 12, 13 mentees, which means that overall we had 25, 26 people in the group. And though the functioning of the mentoring is bilateral functioning, so the mentor and the mentee, they work together bilaterally during the cycle, we organize a first meeting of the group, and then we close the cycle with a meeting of the group. And at the time, I was enthusiastic and really I wanted to go for it. But then I thought it was too big, though for a training program, it wouldn't be too big, of course. But for such an exercise, which needs to be really fine-tuned and needs to be, I would dare the word, more intimate than a training program, the group was too big. And on the other hand, I couldn't follow, because what I'm doing, my role into the program is also to do the follow-up with all the participants. So that was not satisfactory. So I downsized it for the following edition, and we had a smaller group. I think we had in 2019, it was less than 10, like mentees. And I understood that that was the best size for everyone, and I had very positive feedback. So it looks like small, because when you say we run an activity for 16, 18 people globally, it looks small, but I think for this kind of activity, at least for our resources, is the best size. Then in the last edition, what I did was to create two groups of 7, 8 mentees, so meaning two groups of 16, 18 people. And they work in parallel, let's put it like this. And I'm still convinced that it's the good size for this activity.
Great. And, some of the established mentors are going to be very busy people. They're busy with their own producing. Was it hard to convince them to take part, or were they really seeing the value immediately of sort of giving back a bit?
Yeah, I must say that most of the producers, of the senior producers I've contacted, they really said yes very quickly. Of course, on condition that they would be available. And this is, as you say, I mean, they are busy. And also what might happen is that they are available maybe in principle, and then something happens and they are no longer available. So this means that the program should be really flexible in that respect. So I created a pool of mentors, knowing that not everybody would be available at the same time. So this is the philosophy also behind the mentoring. And but I must say, most of the producers I contacted said yes, and very few of them said no, but saying I'm interested maybe in the forthcoming years. So this was very, very positive on that end.
Great. Yeah. And I think one thing that, because of the size, you're able to match people in a way. And I think it's important that you don't match, let's say a Spanish mentor with a Spanish mentee, because they could both be going for the same pots of funding or something. What's the approach to matching the younger producer with the more experienced producer?
What is very clear in mentoring is that what should be satisfied are the needs of the mentee. So I start, when I do the interviews with the applicants to the program, I make it very clear with them. They need to really be very precise on their needs. And then based on that, I go and look for the right mentor. Now, since it is a pan-European program, I never match a mentor, a mentee who are established in the same country. For the reason you also said, that there would be also maybe in competition in the same space for funding, but it is also, I think, a way to make the younger one grow. Because one of the purposes for the younger one is also to go from a national level to a more international pan-European level. So there are these different aspects. And then, of course, but this is a little bit the alchemy of, of the exercise, I try to match a little bit also on, I try to understand what might work in terms of personalities. So this is a bit more difficult, but I think I quite succeeded in most of the matches I did. So, and if there is something which doesn't work for whatever reason, I try always to adjust the mentee. Because it might happen also for the reasons that we explained, that the mentor is no longer available. And so I try to find another mentor, or if there is some fine tuning to do, I can also back up on some issues. So that's really the philosophy of the program.
Yeah. I think it's also really smart that this program isn't, it's not a co-production market. It's not a script development lab. It's not about one project. It's about maybe a producer's career or their company, their entrepreneurship. Why did you want to make sure it wasn't just about one film?
Actually, the purpose is career development and skills development. That's why it shouldn't be focused on one project, or having as a result that the project is developed, because it's really bigger than that in a way. And it allows the junior producers to focus on those needs that they have. These needs can be, for instance, making a choice how to organize a company. Should the producer go with an associate, or should continue alone? These are the kind of choice. Then we have issues such as negotiating skills with partners, or whatever comes up. Then, of course, in the discussions, they speak about what they are working on. I mean, it's not an abstract exercise, but it's not in the goal of the program to focus on a project.
And how, with the mentoring, I assume it can be a bit flexible depending on what each person needs. It's not that you have to do a conversation every Thursday at 1 p.m. Or that you have to do it in this certain way. So it gives each mentor mentee a little bit of flexibility for their own needs.
Yeah, exactly so. So as I said in the beginning, I think we do organize this first meeting of everybody in a group. We work with a consultant, with Linda Bith, who helps us to structure also the meeting and the work that they are going to do during the cycle. But then they start organizing themselves as they wish. What we ask as availability to the mentors is 4 hours per month. Then the way they decide to use that time, which in some cases it's really very regular, they do 1 hour per week. In other cases, they can have like sessions quarterly. I mean, depending really on the availability. And in some cases where the mentor is really available, and then there is the alchemy of the relationship, this can be very regular. I always warn the mentees not to abuse of the mentors because that's not the purpose. But I think this is also what is interesting in such a program, because then things can evolve depending on this relationship which is established between the two producers.
And I've been talking to some of the mentors and the mentees, and I know that sometimes it's not just about this 1-year program. They keep in touch, they might become real friends, they might find ways to collaborate. Do a lot of people keep in touch after the official year is over?
I think so. We haven't done so much follow-up so far. What I know that in the previous cycle, so I would say 2019, I think 2 or 3 of them are co-producing from that cycle. So it went so far as to establish like a structured cooperation. So this means that these relationships continue beyond the program. And this is also somehow one of the goals that I had in mind when I set up the program, is really to create a sense of community, which doesn't mean to be closed into some kind of whatever you can call it, women ghetto. That's not at all the goal, but to have a safe space where they can share issues that cannot be really shared elsewhere. Because I think at the end of the day, and this I think is worth also, I mean, it's not about gender, but maybe for women it's more peculiar. The producer, they also feel alone a lot in their work. So, and on some issues, especially those who are within a very masculine environment, that they might have questions that they cannot really ask their male colleagues. So that's the idea, having this safe space for exchanges and advice and support. because at the end of the day, this is what EWA Network is really supporting the members to develop their careers in the sector.
So for the younger producers, the mentees, have they told you what, some examples of what they get out of it? Just what's the feedback been like? I assume that it's been quite strong, that they feel like this is a great program that's helped their careers.
They generally feel more empowered, actually. And also for some of them, I think it has really opened up this whole world of co-production markets, because something that I did not mention is that we do the program in partnership with co-production markets, with Trieste when it's Meets West, and with Thessaloniki. And when we still could travel, we were really physically there. And for some of them, this was really a new experience. So it was really enlarging their world as producers, I would say. Also, I think that they feel that they can rely on a community. I think there is, again, because though they function in these bilateral matches, there is also this idea that when a problem comes up, which might be fixed or discussed with another mentor, for instance, there should be this opening, because sometimes there are issues that the mentor herself cannot really deal with. So it's not simply there is a strong relationship with one senior producer, but there is a community behind them.
Yeah, that's lovely. I think we all need more of that community feeling in the film world and Europe and women. And, the mentors, I think, usually we think of mentors as they're giving back. But I think, a lot of the mentors are benefiting. They make new relationships. Yeah, maybe they go on to co-produce with somebody. What do you think the mentors can also get out of this program?
I think that even the exercises, I call them exercises, but let's put like the way Linda is structuring sometimes the conversation for them is also helpful. I give you an example. Linda, she focused very much on how to set up priorities in the work. So this is quite basic, but it's really, really important when you start a conversation about restructuring the activity or improving the way you deal with your slate. And this is every time the mentors say that it's mostly beneficial also for them. So this is the framework is already beneficial. I think that also, even though most of the producers know themselves, but it's also for them a way to be with peers, which is not maybe so self-evident. So they are with peers, and then I think they really enjoy to work with the younger generation.
I wish I had a mentee that I could learn from and hear what the next generation is thinking. I think that's really valuable.
Yeah. So, and then of course, in those, best case scenario that even end up co-producing, though it's not the purpose, but when this happens, of course, it's very beneficial also for the mentors.
And we're talking on Zoom right now. It's 2021. This pandemic is ongoing. Have you been able to keep the mentoring going even when people haven't been able to travel and meet in person at these events?
Yeah, we have. And actually, somehow this program fits very well into the online world, though we miss the group meetings like in presence. But for the rest of the time, since they communicate they use that, I guess, to communicate by phone or Skype. So somehow this program has not been disrupted so much. What we do, of course, now the group meetings are happening on Zoom. But in between, it's a program which is still quite adaptable to the difficult conditions we are living. So no, it's working, I would say, nonetheless.
Yeah. And do you want to keep the program the same size it is now? Would you like to make it bigger? How do you balance, keeping it intimate with potential growth?
I would say that for producers, I would keep it in this size, like having 2 cycles and with these sides of the groups. What I really would like, and this has been in the pipeline for a while, but I didn't have, I must say, the financing for it, let's be clear, is to have a scheme for directors, which would have a completely different structure, and for composers, which is really tiny minority. Women composers are a tiny minority in the industry. And yeah, my intention is to apply for money to structure mentoring schemes for these 2 professions. And then again, depending on how it is structured, it cannot be for a huge number of participants. But yeah, I'm confident on those programs as well, and I'm very curious because it would be different. It's very different when you work with the business side, and then you work more with the artistic side. I mean, but there is also a lot to do from the management side for the director, I guess. So, but I'm really looking forward to have these 2 new schemes. So hopefully, if we get the financing, we might envisage them for probably late 2022, not this year. This year we will continue with the producers.
Wonderful. I hope all that can happen. It sounds really great. And just, to wrap up, I'm wondering why you think, and this is such a big question, it's what EWA does every day, why you think it's important to connect women who are working in the audiovisual industry. Why do we need a network like this?
We all know that the industry we are in works a lot, a little bit as a closed shop, and that we need to open up to those who cannot access so easily the industry, and not to recreate another closed shop, but to create this safe space where they can also learn. So for me, it's a matter of really bringing in, and in the mentoring, there is this idea of bringing into an established setup with people who know how to do things, and opening up to the younger ones who are struggling. And for women, we know, I mean, I'm not going to repeat anything, there is an imbalance, not only for women, we know that there are other issues, but let's put it simple. For women, there is such an imbalance still nowadays of numbers that an effort should be put there. So to wrap up, I would say that the final purpose of a network like ours is to disappear, because the day that we will have the balance, we don't need to work on it anymore. So this is what I always say. I mean, the purpose is not to stay here forever. The purpose is really that one day there is no need for this kind of networks. So, but I think we still have some time to go.
But I think that's a great goal to have in mind. But meanwhile, I think it's really important to see the work EWA is doing, to see these women supporting each other. It's great, and learning from each other. Thank you, Alessia, for telling us more about the mentoring program. And I encourage people to look at your website to find out more information.
Thank you. Yes, go into our website. There is a lot of there are a lot of resources, and we hope to launch the new call for the mentoring before summer. So
wonderful.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
And looking forward to the next interviews.
Yes.
Bye.